Top 5 convicted murderers who gave television interviews before being arrested. Serial killers and mass murderers are often interviewed by police before they are caught. Here are 10 murderers who gave television interviews before they were caught. These conversations provide insight into how cold-blooded killers might simulate feelings that ordinary people might experience if they were victims of a heinous crime. 5. Gerard Bayden Clay. Gerard Bayden Clay murdered his wife Allison and dumped her body on a Brisbane stream bank in April 2012. It took police 2 weeks to conclude their investigation when a canoeist discovered Allison's death. Despite his assertion that he was innocent, he was found guilty 2 years later and condemned to life in jail. For Chris Watts. Sean Watts and her 2 young children were reported missing by a close friend on August 13, 2013. Her husband, Chris, appeared on 2 Denver TV stations the next day, appealing for his family's safe return. He did not exhibit the emotional response that one might anticipate from a guy whose loved ones were gone and likely in danger. After failing a polygraph test, he ultimately confessed to the killings and was sentenced to 5 life terms without parole. 3. Margaret and Neil Archer. Margaret and Neil Archer are a mother and son from Mannum, South Australia. They begged on TV for the safe return of Neil's girlfriend, Jodie Myers, despite the fact they had already murdered her and buried her body beneath a concrete floor in their shed. Neil was sentenced to 22 years for murder, while his mother was condemned to 6 years for her involvement in assisting her son in covering his tracks. 2. Miles Evans. Miles Evans was convicted of murdering his 9-year-old stepdaughter Zoe in 1998 and sentenced to life in prison. He appears in a video pleading for her safe return, despite knowing her fate. Experts analyze his body language and explain the evident signals that he is deceitful. Zoe was suffocated to death with a t-shirt before being thrown into a badger burrow and partially buried. 1. Christy Abrahams. Keisha Abrahams was a weak and helpless 6-year-old child living in her family home with her mother, Christy, and her mother's companion, Robert Smith. Keisha had been abused for months, including being struck in the face, bitten, burnt with cigarettes, and finally died of a hit to the skull delivered by her mother. Christy was sentenced to 22 years in prison for murder, while Robert Smith was jailed for at least 12 years for his role in the heinous treatment of a vulnerable kid. Subscribe and support us.